So let's try to review a more recent film while it's still fresh in my mind. Last Saturday, I saw Gold. In the past couple of years, we've had a lot of films with Matthew McConaughey as either the star or a major role within the film. Now, I could be misremembering, but I believe we only had one film starring Matthew McConaughey last year, which was Free State of Jones. And I have to say, this is much better than Free State of Jones, even though I still liked Free State of Jones. So, Gold is based off of true events. Matthew McConaughey plays this prospector, a modern-day prospector, so he's more of a businessman. His father built a mining company from the ground up, and now Matthew McConaughey has to take his place. Unfortunately, the company's gone downhill. So much so that he doesn't really have an office or a building or whatnot. He and his co-workers work at a bar with telephones. It's actually pretty sad. But Matthew McConaughey's character is hoping for a break. He has this dream, remembering this specific geologist, played by Edgar Ramirez. Now, this geologist had a theory about fault lines and possibly a bunch of minerals being within it. One of those minerals being gold. So, Matthew McConaughey's character teams up with Edgar Ramirez's character, and together they try to find gold, and they may have just struck the mother lode. And from then on there, greed sets in, backstabbing might happen, and there's a lot of business people thinking, hey, that's a lot of gold. Need some help with that? And it becomes a struggle to keep the gold, keep their fame and fortune, and be able to distribute it and profit off of it. And of course, a lot of other things happen as well, but I don't want to spoil it. You'll have to watch the movie if you want to know more. Alright, so truth be told, I had no idea what Gold was about. All I knew is the title had been shown on Rotten Tomatoes whenever I looked for upcoming movies. It would pop up every so often, but there would be no trailer, no poster. It would show who's in it, and so I was excited, I was interested. Honestly, it wasn't until the week before the movie came out that I was able to see a trailer for it, and I saw a trailer for it, get this, before XXX Return of Xander Cage. That was when I first saw the trailer for Gold, which is really odd. So anyway, when I saw this trailer, I was like, okay, now I'm excited. It comes out next week, but let's see it. And I have to say, I did enjoy the movie. And there wasn't a lot of people in the movie theater, but it seems as though all of them really enjoyed it as well. They definitely laughed at all of the funny parts, that's for sure. I didn't laugh at a lot of the funny parts, but I did smile, and I enjoyed that everyone else was really having a good time with those funny moments. I mean, yes, it is definitely more of a drama, but there is comedy in it, and there's some situations here and there that can lead to some comedic moments and some more lighthearted moments, and a little bit of commentary as well. So hands down, one of the best things about this movie is the acting. The main cast of characters is really, really damn good. You got Matthew McConaughey as our main character. We've got the side characters played by Edgar Ramirez, whom you might remember from pretty recent movies such as Hands of Stone. He was the main character in that. I didn't see it. I know he's in it. He was the psychologist in The Girl on the Train. And he was in Joy, and he was the main bad guy. He was Brody in the remake of Point Break. Now, if all of those movies don't really sound that good to you, well, he's really good in this movie. You also got Bryce Dallas Howard and Corey Stoll, who's in The Strain, and he was the bad guy in Ant-Man. I'm sure he's done plenty of other things, but those are the two things I recognize him from the most. And Toby Kebbell shows up pretty briefly. Like I said, everyone's great. Matthew McConaughey does play a little bit more of himself than he has in his more recent roles. However, his physical transformation is very apparent in this movie. He does look pretty nasty. It's almost as if he saw Christian Bale's transformation in American Hustle and thought, yeah, I can beat that. He does. He's got this balding hairdo and really big beer gut, and anyone who's thought Matthew McConaughey looks attractive might think differently when it comes to this movie. I really like his character. He talks a lot, he's a dreamer, he's frantic, and he's a bit of a con artist, or at least he's the type of person that seems like a con artist. At first he starts off as a sly guy, almost con artist-like, and then he becomes this dreamer, and you're like, oh, I'm really rooting for this guy because he's really down on his luck. He's looking for his big break. And then as the movie progresses, you see a little bit more of his real side and more of his flawed nature. And he becomes more of a complex character as the movie progresses. I really followed his character, and I felt that this movie has a bit of a character study with Matthew McConaughey's character. And Edgar Ramirez is pretty much the exact opposite of Matthew McConaughey in this movie. He's calm, collective, stoic, kind of handsome, and, well, doesn't talk a lot, talks logically and reasonably. I love the contrast between these two characters, and I have to say the actors do a wonderful job playing off of each other because they have great chemistry, and I could really sense the friendship forming between these two characters, both down on their luck. One, money troubles, one, people discredit his theories, and they pretty much need each other. Bryce Dallas Howard is pretty much the love interest of Matthew McConaughey's character. She's the one that brings out the human side of his character, shows a little bit of his flaws when he kind of ignores her in the middle of the film. There's a great chemistry between those two, and of course, as you'd expect for any romance thing, there is a split up and a breakup kind of thing, and that was kind of heart-wrenching. There is a zaniness and a comedy feel about this film throughout the most part, which almost gives either a War Dogs vibe or maybe even a Wolf of Wall Street vibe, but it's never the extent of either of those two movies. So I can kind of see people thinking, oh, this is more like Wolf of Wall Street, but then it doesn't get on that level, and you're like, this is a downer movie, I don't like this movie as much as Wolf of Wall Street, or any other movie of this particular nature. And so I could see some people not liking this movie as much, but it's not really about that. It has a little bit of that style, but it's not really about that kind of stuff. Of course, it is about gold, and it does have an emphasis on greed, but it's a little bit of an undertone to the movie. I do think there's some great messages within the movie and some really great commentary about greed and the corruption. That's really outstanding, and you might have to dig into the movie to actually see it. Now, the film is set in the 80s, but I believe the true events that this movie is based off of didn't really happen in the 80s. So if you're a purist that really knows about the story and wants it to be exactly the same way as real life, you might not like the fact that it's in the 80s, but I have to say, it does really fit the tone of the movie, and the setting is really nice. As far as story-wise, this is really hard to judge this kind of movie because not only is it a drama, it's also one of those movies that starts off kind of, okay, it's fine, nothing big, nothing bad. I like it. It almost starts off as a 3-star movie, but it progressively gets better for me as the movie goes along. Yeah, when the movie started, I have it at about a 3, but when the movie got done, it really hit home, and it was about a 4.5-star movie. That's quite the change. That's quite the progression as the movie goes along. And it's really hard to judge the movie because it starts off kind of okay, but then it just becomes a great movie. But not all of it was great, so you can't really give it that great rating. But I gotta say, that ending, really, really great. And I can see people finding the middle to be a little bit slow because it starts off fast-paced, goes a little slow, slows down a little to get in depth with the character, show his character flaws, have a little bit of a breakup. The middle part is kind of the downer side, so I can see people feeling that the middle gets a little slow. I think the whole prospecting part and when they're in Indonesia to try to find the gold and find the spot where all the gold is and harvest all these samples to bring back to the lab to see if there's any gold or any good minerals within it. I think a lot of that went by a little fast in this movie, and I wish that I could see a little bit of them being in Indonesia a little bit more. But then again, it does kind of make sense why that portion of the film goes by a little fast, because Matthew McConaughey's character does get malaria, and there's something that happens that's better explained at the end because there's a bit of a twist ending. And when it comes to the comedy of the film, they did rely heavily on the fact that Matthew McConaughey transformed himself into this kind of nasty person. Because when it comes to the comedy, it's basically because he's in his underwear, or they're showing his stomach, or he's naked and they're showing his butt. And I gotta say, everyone at the theater kind of laughed a lot whenever they showed him as he is in this movie. I still think Gold could have been a much better film and could have been one of those films that is really memorable, but I feel that to some people it will be. Others, they'll find it either average or just sort of bland. So if this sounds interesting to you, give it a try. You might really enjoy it. I definitely did. I'm going to give Gold 3.5 stars. So did you see Gold? Have you even heard about it? What did you think about it? Go ahead and comment below. And if you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and check out my movie reviews. I've got movie reviews of 2015, 2016, and hopefully more of 2017, because I got a lot of catching up to do. As always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was just my opinion.